So I graduated high school back in 2020 and have worked at Costco since while listening to your podcast and watching your main channel to better my charisma and self-esteem.
Cool.
However, when I started working in Costco's tire center, I was put in an environment that destroyed my confidence and self-esteem due to my lack of mechanical experience and skill, for which I was picked on, teased, and eventually bullied about despite my best efforts to be better. I was finally able to quit because you guys made me realize it's all right to, and I started my dream career job working as an EMT on an ambulance.
Oh, sick. That's awesome.
But I'm still carrying my lowered self-esteem and low confidence from my other job, and it's negatively impacting my personal relationships. I'm rereading the six pillars of self-esteem, but as of right now, I have a lack of hope that my confidence in myself will rise again. You two talk about being skeptical of influencers online, but every piece of advice I've taken from you two has only been positively impactful, including taking psychedelics. So with that being said, any advice you two could give me on how to rebuild yourself after being put down so much would be immeasurably appreciated.
Great. I mean, so the first thing I'd say is you're in a solid spot in the sense that you once were where you're aiming for, which I think is rebuilding is easier than starting from scratch, I would say. So you're actually, while it feels like you're in a bad place, you're not far, or your journey's not hard or impossible. So that's the first thing I would say. And I think your experience for how your confidence was broken down was basically you were in an environment where it happened slowly over time, right? And so you just want to reverse that process in a lot of ways. You want to try to build it back up slowly over time. And I think that the ways you can do that are relationship-wise, like filtering for people who are not like that, people who are kind to you and who allow you to feel good about yourself. And also, I think doing things to stretch your comfort zone and just rebuild that confidence by doing things like improv or public speaking Toastmasters, or when you see someone that you want to talk to, you just go up and talk to them, and you start slowly, exactly like we talk about on the Charisma on Command YouTube channel, to, I guess, reaffirm in yourself that you should feel good about yourself. Like you're basically trying to build a house of confidence and they disassembled it, let's say. And so you just want to go brick by brick and think of the different ways you can spend your free time or even your work relationships recreating that identity of a confident person. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm glad that you went that direction, because where I'm at in my life, I always go slower, metaphysical, and I actually think it's really important to stay practical. So like...
No, it can look like when you're an EMT, these are totally new people cracking one extra joke. You know, watch a video that I've got coming out on Ryan Reynolds or Chris Pratt or Chris Hemsworth or whatever. I know we're doing COVID, but like if you're both vaccinated and you feel comfortable, just getting used to that one extra hand on the shoulder or that one extra joke. Or if someone says, "Hey, how are you?" Just instead of saying good, saying, "I'm fantastic. Life's been amazing today. How are you?" And trying to get them out of their routine. Getting that positive feedback from them. If the negative feedback from your old environment is what broke you down, I think those little things can help build you back up to be like, oh, I'm in a new place. I've got new surroundings. Still hopefully with your same friend group, but you've removed the people that are pulling you down. So now you can rebuild your positive reference experiences. You can get reps under your belt of, this is good. This is okay that I stretch my comfort zone, that I do this. Then these people like me and they smile when I smile and all this. And it'll start to reaffirm that sense that you're good enough for people to like you.
Do the exercises in 6 pillars is the other thing. So yeah, Ben went very practical, which is good. And I think is probably right for where I'm hearing that you're at in your life right now. Maybe some people can just jump to like self-love and deep personal satisfaction. But I do think that for most people, there needs to be a stage of a lot of doing and a lot of external validation to build up a foundation of self-esteem. Just to locate you, that won't be the end of your journey. Like, because then at some point you'll be like, oh my God, my self-esteem is totally dependent upon the continued validation of other people. And that's not to say that you should skip this phase. It's a really important phase. But then I think the things that you sometimes hear me talk about with, it sounds like you've done some psychedelics, the emotional mastery stuff, will become more important. But yeah, based on where I'm hearing, stick with Ben's advice for now, just knowing that this is the crazy thing about life. what was so successful to get you in and through this period of your life is going to be completely not enough and in your way at the next stage.
Yeah, what got you here won't get you there.
Exactly.
It's the great business advice of all time. But
Yeah.
if you are starting a business, trying to follow the advice that grows a business from 10 million in revenue to 100 million isn't actually what you want.
Yeah.
So you're just trying to figure out, how do I get my first 100,000 of revenue? I think if you feel broken down, I think you're building up from the ground up. The one thing I actually would say, if you do want something that's more emotional mastery, more in line with emotional mastery, I really like the book Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. It's very short. Get the original if you can.
So
he released one that's 3 times as long, and the original was, I think, better.
There's another book, you don't have to do it, but Feeling Good. It's funny. So like the way, I'm not saying that emotional mastery is right for you, because I actually think there's things as I've continued to understand and grow that I would like to tweak and change. But the week 1 stuff that I cover in emotional mastery is where you should be, which is love yourself like your life depends on it, and cognitive behavioral therapy, which is very thought level, active, dewy type stuff.
But great for where you're at.
But
like,
perfect.
I think those, and Love Yourself Like Depend on It is very short. At the end of the day, it has one exercise. The book just affirms that it's important. Feeling Good is CBT. It's, I think, one of the most effective ways of dealing with anxiety and depression when they study different therapeutic methods. Those will give you tool sets that are really great for where you're at, that I think will serve you a lot better than trying to dive straight into
self-love, deep
trying to be the Dalai Lama.
Conditionless self-love. Yeah. No, love yourself because people say nice things about you for a period of time.
And because you say nice things about yourself.
Yeah. And that's great.
Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It is about training yourself
Your
to
internal talk,
be kind to yourself. Yeah. Because often your own negative thoughts are probably, the person that's negative to you most frequently in the day is probably yourself. Especially now that you've quit your job. Like the amount of negative things that other people say to you throughout the day probably pales in comparison to the number of negative thoughts you have in your own head about yourself.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It can help you be kind to yourself and affirm yourself, because then you're still going to be the person that talks to yourself the most. So that'll help, I think, a lot. And do that. And then at the same time, I think it's really a great place to start to go to Charisma on Command, take lessons from the videos and apply them to yourselves and build up charismatic, happy, outgoing habits that make people like being around you. And I think that'll make you feel good and confident.
Yeah. We don't need to talk about it now. I was thinking of the limits of Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It, which is still fantastic and you should do it. But it's like, it's a book primarily about what you say to yourself in your own head and some of the behaviors, like, you take a nice bath or something like that. But I do think that's fucking awesome and highly powerful, and has been insufficient for the author and for a lot of people, because loving yourself goes beyond what you consciously repeat to yourself in your head and the actions that you take. There's an unconscious dimension to it as well. Just thinking about why doesn't this go all the way down? And that's, I think, a summary of why.
Yeah, it's just like,
just great.
You learn guitar by starting with the stuff
exactly
that makes sense to start with.
Start at the beginning.
Exactly. You start at the beginning.
Hope that you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to see more like this and have us do more podcasts, we are 100% funded by our generous patrons. And if you'd like to contribute, there's a link in the description, and we'll have one pop up on the screen right here so that we can do more podcasts where we have fun conversations and hopefully some deep ones like this. Either way, hope that you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.